TV Kenya and at Lincoln Ombogo on all my social media handles. The question we are asking tonight: do you think the Senate is biased in these proceedings that are happening now? Joining me in studio is Ruth Ombogo, policy and governance expert, and Mheshimiwa James Gakuya, Embakasi North Member of Parliament. Our sign language interpreters are Michael Maithia and Teresia Washira. Now, what happens to Nairobi if Sonko is impeached?
Because, I mean, one thing that Sonko did was that he really tried to frustrate his impeachment process, you know. When his deputy resigned, I think he got some pretty good advisors who told him that if you don't appoint another one, then impeaching you will be a long process. Because I think at that particular time, they were probably thinking that, you know, for Nairobi County to go into an election, I mean, the whole process about going into an election, one would want to avoid an election as much as possible within Nairobi County. So he did all that he could. But now that here we are, and in case the impeachment goes through, I think what happens is that the speaker is supposed to take over for the next, is it 60 or 90 days? 60 days, yeah. as we prepare for a by-election in Nairobi County. So if it's 60 days, then I'm guessing that a by-election, is it now 90 days after the impeachment that the by-election takes place? Yeah, if I'm, please correct me if I'm wrong. That 90 days later, we are now to have a by-election in Nairobi County. So chances are we might have a by-election. But when you look at it, the timeline between that particular time, because that's next year,
yes,
and the next election is pretty much a very short period of time. So I don't know what will happen. So maybe the case will be dragged on into court for a period of time until 2022 arrives, and we have no option but to go for elections just within the normal schedule. But I don't know. So I don't know what will happen, because I think as much as possible, the government might want to try and avoid having elections, especially now that, you know, we have BBI coming in, and Nairobi is sort of like a central county, unlike other counties such as Machakos that is having a by-election, and other constituencies that are having by-elections. Nairobi County politics, you know, is very high octane, yeah? And at the same time, remember that there'll be campaigns for BBI in case the referendum is taking place as scheduled, because the schedule for BBI is indicating that we are supposed to have a referendum around June. And that's pretty much around the same time that the Nairobi County by elections will be taking place. So politically, you know how our country manages to come up with political solutions to problems. So we might not, in my view, we might not go the legal way of, the constitutional way of doing things. We might just find ourselves having a sort of like a gap in between that will be filled in politically somehow, and then have elections in 2022.
Honorable Gakuya, IEBC, what is supposed to occur is that IEBC, the deputy governor is supposed to take over, but IEBC says that they did not receive an official resignation from Polycarp Igathe, so now the speaker will take over. What next for Nairobi? NMS, you don't really like NMS, but NMS may have some time. Do you think NMS will just run the county until 2022?
One thing, what I can tell you, Nairobi has no vacuum. As far as the big area of service delivery is concerned, it's well taken care by the NMS. And I think for us to come and conclude this issue of deficiency is that we need to bring back the ministry, which was Metropolitan Ministry, so that it can do every other subsidy that this county is not doing, and also that Kajiado County is not doing, and also subsidy within the neighboring Kiambu and so on. So I think for us to have an area where monies are not going to bring conflict is only when we have a ministry in place. But if it is this particular NMS, an agency, it will be having a lot of trouble, because constitutionally, the money has to be changed through the county government. And this money to come from the accounts of the county government to the NMS, those are mountains. And surely, I would see a very good willing by the NMS to do the service delivery, but they may be dragged behind by those technicalities, those bureaucracies. So in order for us to move out of these bureaucracies, because we may not have a law that will line us towards that particular deficiency, I believe out of the 22 number of the constitutional cabinet positions, we demand that, and the president promises that he will give us back that particular ministry. Or what happened. And therefore, I would urge whoever will take over after the president, consider Nairobi giving it back that particular ministry, because it will do any other subsidy in case we have a careless governor tomorrow But what we must do is that, because this is public resources that we are talking about, we must have clear mechanisms that actually punishes, and that gives what we call red card to governors, so that they can, whenever they are in office, they must in their back of their mind understand that they are only there to look after public resources. These are public offices, and what they require in the offices, they're just guardian of the public resource. Therefore, we don't require to have those we call musicals every other day. And as Madam has stated, we don't require every other day to change forest. But what we are doing is that it's the same monkeys moving out from this one to the next. Then you try to have the same cycle. We need to come out of this cycle, and that's why I'm telling Nairobi, this is a big case study. Tomorrow, let us decisively go for a person that we have an experience. He can be able to lead this country, this city out of the troubles we are undergoing.
Honorable Gakuya and Ruth, there's a conversation that we are having when we went for a short break. Looking at...
But in short,
yes,
he may not come anywhere. I can tell you for sure. This one is, he cannot enjoy it. I am telling you immediately he tries to come back.
Honorable Gakuya does not want this conversation at all.
You find very many activists in court.
Listen, Honorable Gakuya and Ruth. Now,
yes,
when you go to social media, you look at what the NMS has been doing in Nairobi, especially the CBD, like recarpeting of roads and other multiple projects. Kenyans from other counties, and not one Kenyan, many Kenyans have been commenting and saying, let our counties also be handled by the military as well. Now, the question is devolution under threat? Are governors threatening devolution themselves? If these Kenyans, if what they're saying is anything to go by, Ruth?
Governors across the country have really, in quite a number of counties, have really let down their people. I'll give you a case study of Vihiga County, which is where I come from and where I hope to be a representative of at some point.
Congratulations when you get that.
Thank you. Vihiga County is an interesting county because even as we are complaining about, currently what is presently preoccupying a lot of Kenyans' minds, of concern to a lot of Kenyans, is the doctors' issues and issues about payment of doctors and remuneration of doctors and safety of doctors and basically the welfare of doctors across the country. And one looks at how county governments have handled the same within their counties, and I look at Vihiga County, nurses have not been paid for over 15 months. Go to the neighboring county, Kakamega County. Just the other day, I witnessed, I think as the senator was going around and just assessing the state of healthcare facilities within Kakamega County in terms of just basically looking at the complaints that the people had in terms of the preparation for COVID-19 and how Kakamega County recently became affected by COVID-19 in terms of the number of people they were losing due to COVID-19. And you look at how these governors handle their issues, and some of them even end up being voted as the best governors. But when you look at basic service delivery within their counties, basic payment of county government workers, forget about even nurses and doctors, just county government employees are not paid, contractors are not paid, nothing is proceeding, nothing is going on within the counties. And it's really, it boils down to the question of who are we voting for as our governors. At some point I would want to agree with him when he says that when we vote for certain people and we vote for clowns and expect miracles, what exactly are we expecting? But then again, even when we fail to get the result of the kind of people that we voted for, or we fail to get the leadership that we expected when we put in place these people, we also forget that we do have the power to recall these people. So then again, the question becomes, what's the function of MCAs? Because at the end of the day, there's somebody who is supposed to keep these governors in check, and you would expect that if they're failing the people, if they're not delivering on their services, if they're not delivering on their functions and duties, then members of county assembly should be able to go through the process of impeaching them, or rather putting them on their toes and getting them to work. So it's a whole system of beginning from we as the voters voting for the wrong people when we have the best choices of people who are vying for those particular seats whenever elections come, voting in clowns and voting in people who are theatrical and expecting miracles, and then once we get there again, voting in persons who are supposed to ensure that these people are kept in check and are delivering on their functions, who are not playing their part, you know. And then again, at the end of the day, we failing when another chance is given to us to vote in different people, again, still voting in the same people. So I think I understand when people say that they would wish that their counties were taken over by some form of, because NMS is Nairobi Metropolitan, some form of, you know, some form of
Yes.
structure that's not necessarily one that is run by governors. But clearly, we really need to do better the next time we are given a chance to pick who is supposed to run our affairs.
Thank you, Ruth. Honorable Gakuya, you know, when you say devolution is under threat, and we see these conversations come up when we have such proceedings like what we have with Sonko's impeachment motion, but who is really threatening devolution? Is it the governors themselves? Is it the people? Or is it the national government?
This is a matter that we have been watching it for a time, and very good that is that we have a full considered term of governor that has lapsed. Then we have seen there are those who managed to come back, their second term, their second term, and those who lost. But to me, what I would say is that the concept of the county government, it's like we created another small president. So these guys, it's like they consumed a lot of powers, and then they are all leading with egos. Because I don't see why. Me, you know, I have worked with the council of Nairobi 2 terms. When the mayor of the city was a ceremonial, and let me tell you, there were no problems. Actually, things were surely there was element of consultation, and things were not happening haphazardly. So I also still believe governor is a human being. And let me tell you, the people who are slept on their job are the MCAs. Because let me tell you, they should not last the 11th hour.
Yeah.
Yes, when the cats and the deals are gone so. Yes. Because surely they are the people who have entertained these people.
So MCAs
and
are
these
also
are the
failing
only
us.
people
Yeah.
who can be able to clip the horns of these governors and nobody else. And let me tell you, if they can start to do their job, they should not wait for the Auditor General to come to give out reports, because there is no single element of budget they don't know. Because those budgets of the county government, they all belong to their wards. So every single MCA knows what they approved in that particular year's budget belonging to his ward. So he's a person who should come out first and say, what happened after we approved this road? It's not happening. What happened after we approved this water project? It's not happening. But the guys are just there. I don't know whether they went. It's like it's a walk on the.
You know, and I think just to add on to what he's spoken about, and I think the reason why the MCAs are not doing their job per se is because MCAs are pretty much powerless, you know. MCAs across the country rely on governors for handouts. Their people expect them to, because, you know, the ordinary mwananchi does not know the difference between what an MCA should, the roles of an MCA and what a governor should be doing. So on the ground, an MCA has pressure from the people that, you know, we are not seeing you, hatuoni ukijenga barabara. They expect that the MCA should be the one constructing roads. They expect that the MCA is the one who should be ensuring that their hospitals are basically staffed up. They expect that the MCA is the one who should ensure that infrastructural projects such as schools are built, you know. So at the end of the day, an MCA is facing pressure from the people that they represent, and then now they have to rely on governors for handouts. And so it's basically a whole cycle where a governor knows that if I have MCAs in my pocket, there's nowhere I'm going, you know, there's nothing that you can do to me. So I think we really need to, and that's where the question of auditing our devolved system of government is something that I would like to agree with Mheshimiwa, that we need to sit down and ask ourselves how effective is our county government. And I thought, for instance, that, you know, with BBI coming on board and telling us that members of county assembly will now have a ward fund that they control, that ensures that they can also be able to run their projects, is one way of strengthening devolution, is one way of giving MCAs power to be able to execute their duties and functions effectively.
Now let us change gear to Msambweni by-elections. I know Honorable Gakuya is excited about this. You know, and Ruto had something to say to Faisal
I
Badar.
tell you, I was so good in that particular debate because that's where we belong. We are fighting for service delivery. And me, I am very keen to see that particular achievement of service delivery, because that's why we elect government. Otherwise, why do we waste time?
Ruto said, "Congratulations, my friend Faisal Badar. Your win cements our trust in God and the people."
Wow.
What do you say, Kijana? Which one? Faisal? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for you guys? His win.
Anyway, what I can say...
Does this by any chance shape up 2022 politics? Honorable Gakuya.
I am telling you, you should learn. This is a case study. You should learn what the mind of Wanjiku is there down. Because, you know, this was out of protest. And let me tell you, losing Monanga, losing Naifasha, and losing Musapweni, was a statement from Wanjiku saying, I am doing it in protest. In protest. Nimechoka na wewe serikali. Sijui vile hii kijana wetu waliweza kujipanga.
What do you think? What do you think,
I think
Ruth?
that was a very brief commentary. I expected more. But anyway, I think if we are to say that if we are to judge whether this campaign is a litmus test for BBI referendum, we'd be lying to ourselves.
Or even 2022 elections.
You know, every other by-election that has taken place is usually a test for something that never really comes, you know. So I think let's just take it as it is. It was a by-election. Kuna people who prepared themselves, as they say in Kiswahili, walijipanga. People who walijipanga better than the others, and they won, you know. So I think what happened is that there was a lot of things going on within the ODM faction of things. One of them being that they at some point probably got overconfident, you know, and at some point they forgot that this politics was really about local politics, you know, that all politics is local politics. But even that notwithstanding, we really need to look at the nitty-gritties of what happened in that particular by-election, you know, the claims that there was a lot of money that was poured on the ground from the other side, but pretty much there was too much at play. You know, this is a by-election that was coming in the middle of a BBI referendum that was being pretty much sold as an idea to the people, an idea that not very many people or people were just getting to warm up to it just yet, you know. So there was that at play. There was the fact that too much just happened at Msambeni
and there were chaos.
And
there were
I
chaos.
I would not say that this is the litmus test for how the BBI referendum will turn out, you know.
Who caused chaos?
One thing that I can tell you for sure, the systems were totally against the independent candidate. Right from the day to the night to the election, about half of his agents were arrested. After that, what you did so is that there was a lot of issues and queues at a point where the former senator for Machakos was arrested. And at some point, you realize that Joho was almost kicking or slapping that member for Jutopevu. And that tells you that, in fact, if any single action was taken to all these commissions, it tells you that there is those who enjoys the power. And I can tell you for sure, if Mudama can sleep in a cell and Joe can sleep comfortably at his parlor, it tells you that then we are cheating ourselves. There are those who are dining and who are dining around the corridors of power.
Do you agree? There are those who are privileged.
And allow me to finalize my last comment on that. I just want to state this very clear. I really want to concur with the madam, but I just want also to have a reservation in one point, that let us not cheat ourselves, that there was anybody strongly bashing money in that particular campaign other than the system. The system has money and has everything. At the end of the day, they reach a point where they tear gas everybody, and at certain positions, the police took away the ballots. But let me tell you, people were so tough. They hanged at that particular vehicle to the end, and therefore that's the kind of determination that we win. But that particular result were to be overturned. It is that there was no an element of a window to do that.
Ruth, do you agree with Mheshimiwa Gakuya that there's some people who have certain privileges when it comes to execution of law?
Well, it's not
apartheid is everywhere.
It is not a new concept anyway.
It happens.
It is not a new concept anyway. But for me, I think what I'd like to focus my attention mostly on is a strategy that ODM probably adopted and where they most likely failed, you know, and it's something that even their leaders themselves have accepted, that, you know, at some point we saw them focusing mostly on major rallies when the opponent was going pretty much door to door, you know. So I think this has got less to do with the system and more to do with the strategies and what everybody unleashed as their strategy on the ground. Yeah.
Thank you.
Losing Gaturi and losing Naivasha? Jubilee Party.
I wish we had more time, but that is the end of Tipping Point. The conversation continues next Thursday. Many thanks for watching. My name is Lincoln Obogo, and thank you, my guests tonight, Honorable James Gekuye and Ruth Mbogo, sign language interpreters, Michael Maitha Teresia Washira, and of course my producers, starting with Frederick Muitiriri and Daniel Karaoke and Clifford Doby. Good evening.